Glad to have you here. Thanks for stopping by for the Town Hall meeting 2012, along with my friend Todd Schnitt. You can go watch the live stream. It's up and running right now from our Facebook page. Click on the live stream tab. Also, you can go to the homepage of the Radio Zone of WOAI.com and click on Watch Now. We had Samantha before the break talked about her mom was a 19-year-old mother. Her father was out digging ditches. Mom now has a doctorate. Dad owns a business. That's the American dream. We love that. One is Hispanic. One is white. To me, growing up, Hispanic and white were the same thing. I grew up in South Florida where Cubans are convinced that they're all white. So I said, okay, you are. Cool. And I'm Italian, so I thought I was Latino. So what do I know? The long and short of it is I think that Barack Obama and socialists like him want it to be this way where we are reliant on them. If we're incumbent upon the government for our food, for our transportation, for our clothing, our heat, our housing, if we're reliant on them for everything, why would we ever vote them out? You get everything, a little bit of food, you get a little bit of welfare, you get a little bit of schooling, you get some free lunch at school, you get some food stamps. We might give you some public transportation. Maybe we'll give you, lately here in San Antonio, they're giving away free bikes if you're in public housing, for God's sakes. When I was a kid and I wanted a bike, my father said, yeah, go do something and get a bike.
Get a paper route.
They're right, exactly right. I mean, go cut some lawns. I believe that at the end of the day, what the liberal mindset is I know better than you know how to succeed in your life. I know better how you can go from the cradle to the grave and at least say, I lived a life. All right, take care. I would rather have a doctorate degree. I would rather own a business. I'd rather be a hotshot radio talk show host like Todd Schnitt.
On 92.5, the Patriot,
exactly
2 to 5 in the afternoon, right before Joe Pags.
Exactly right. So just switch over. At the end of the day is I believe that then the payback is, hey, wink, wink, I did all that for you. Now you got to vote for me. Don't forget to vote for me. Remember what I did for you and your family. That's why we're at 47, 48% entitlements in this country and not at 20% entitlements for people who really need it. That's really what I think.
You know, you go back to Jimmy Carter and the Reagan repair. Remember, it didn't happen instantly.
Right.
Reagan did the right things. Reagan cut back on taxes. There were some tax increases, but it was a lot of revenue-based increases. But Reagan cut back taxes, and Reagan cut back regulation, which allowed business to thrive. And remember, with Reagan, it was about 3 years in when things started to turn around. Here we are, 3.5 years into Obama, and things are no better. Why? Because they're doing exactly the wrong things in this administration. It's negligence. It's gross negligence because they know what works. They know what needs to be done. They refuse to do it because it's an ideological situation.
And they're playing games with numbers, Todd. I can make a good argument that they're not only not doing any better, they're doing a lot worse. Did we have another question over here? Yes, sir. What's your name?
My name is Jerry.
All right, Jerry. What's going on?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Where are you from?
Right here in San Antonio.
Get out of here. Really?
Long trip, but worth it.
All right. What's going on, my friend?
The main thing I want out of my government is in the coming years is someone that's going to get the hell out of the way of the economy and let the public sector fix itself. The government is incapable of fixing the economy. There is nothing they can do other than regulate the taxes, whether they go up and down, that the businesses have to pay. The government cannot create a single job other than a government employee. They can do all kinds of things that will cost jobs, but they cannot create a single job. I want someone that's going to get out of the economy's way, let the economy fix itself, let businesses get themselves on track, and if businesses fail, then they fail. If they succeed, it's because they worked hard, had a product or service that people wanted and were willing to pay for, and was not shoved down their throats.
And listen, it's not just government out of the way. It's also rolling back the damage the government has done. So not only getting out of the way, we need to improve conditions and take away all of the obstacles that have been put in place.
Right.
With how many tens of thousands of pages of regulations have gone into effect under the Obama administration? It's enormous.
It is. And the regulations don't slow down. And what's interesting about Obama is he claims that he's cut taxes for small business and for middle-class America 17, 18 times. In reality, what he's done is he's added a bunch of regulation and a bunch of incentives. In other words, he's taken some hula hoops, he's lit them on fire and said, jump through here and I might give you back some of your money. An incentive from the government is not the same thing as a tax cut from the government. If he says, if you hire Joe Pags, I'll give you 10% back, that's a government hoop that he wants you to jump through, and it's more control of private business, which is what you don't want him to do. And you're right. Reagan went from 70% down to 28% eventually with the top tax rate, and it worked. It worked to the point that we had tens of millions of new jobs that actually were created by private industry because of Reagan's policy. He didn't create one job, whereas Obama in and Biden claim that they've created hundreds of thousands of jobs, if not millions of jobs. And Todd and I both can show you all his stack of crap here. We could show you where we've got 1.7 million fewer Americans working today, and the lowest engagement in the actual workforce in America since 1981, the Jimmy Carter era.
And that's why the numbers don't work, because what they're not factoring in is those that are just in despair have given up.
Right.
Plus the underemployed, people that are doing jobs that are just much lower in income level or hours worked than what they want to. It's the underemployed, and it's those that have just given up.
It's Todd Schnitt along with Joe Pags. We've got about 30 seconds here. Do me a favor. Think about your questions for next hour. We'll continue doing this. You guys having a good time with this? Is this okay? You can get included. You can go and like Todd. You want to put out your Twitter?
I'm on Twitter. My personal Twitter account, I'm the only one that operates it, at Todd Schnitt, at TODDSCHN as in November, ITT.
And mine is Joe Talk Show, at Joe Talk Show. Also, you can go to WOAI's webpage, the Patriots webpage. You can like us on there, the Facebook page, or so on and so forth. We'll get into the U.S. Senate race. It's getting a little bit nasty. We'll talk about conservatism versus the Tea Party versus Republicans and why we're so confused about this in this election cycle. We've got that and much, much more happening. We're going to grab food and drink in the meantime. If you didn't come down here, you're lost. Duh. It's the Joe Pags Show with special guest Todd Schnitt. Stay here on News Radio 1200 WOAI and 92.5 the Patriot. All right, glad to have you here. Welcome to the program. Thanks for stopping by. It is our Town Hall Tuesday. Carrie, I understand that there is a rumor that you might be coming down at some point this hour.
She's on the way down right now.
Oh, Carrie's busy? I'm sorry, Carrie's busy, I'm being told. She better come down or else we'll go up there, Todd, and we'll bring all 35 people with us. All right, glad to have you here. We've got a live studio audience in the Cricket Muve Lounge here at the radio station. We've got people calling in, people tweeting, people Facebooking, the whole thing. We want to continue just a bit. We have a gentleman who's got a question or a comment about President Obama. Then I want to move into some of the Senate races, some of the House races, a lot of them getting very contentious around here, and basically Republicans versus conservatives versus the Tea Party, and how I see at some point we're going to end up looking like we're eating our own. But you've got a question here. Go ahead.
Hi,
What's your name?
My name's Mike Jones. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, originally.
Hey, glad that you made it from Cleveland just for this, huh? See, he's smart. He didn't say he lives in San Antonio, but he wanted to say Cleveland. Go ahead.
There we go. My biggest fear in this election, while the economy's huge, we've been cushioned from it down here dramatically. My family back in Ohio is suffering Obama
I'll bet.
beyond belief.
Yeah.
But they put him in, so they kind of got their own cross to bear on that.
How do you like me now? Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
My biggest concern stretches beyond the next 4 years, probably the next 10, 20, 30 years, in how many more Supreme Court justices is he going to nominate? That scares me beyond belief.
Well, that's
because
what,
we're
right.
at a tipping point right now.
And that's one of the dangers, that if Obama is elected for another 4 years, look at the possibilities. Now, you got to just look at the ones that just kind of cancel each other out. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is not going to be around that much longer.
But you're not going to replace her with somebody who's going to change a vote. It's going to be the same vote.
Even Obama is going to replace, if it happens under Obama's watch over the next year, even if he's able to, let's say he's, I've just lost my train of thought. Let's say Obama is
if you're reelected,
is defeated. I don't know. Hey, it's late in the day for me. If he's defeated,
Todd needs a nap. So just calm it down.
And I've got to drive to Houston tonight too. But believe it or not,
he asked me to drive him. By the way, I said no, I'm busy.
Don't get hung up with the swap votes or the swaps that would happen on the Supreme Court.
Well, I think what's interesting is that I think if I hear you right, if Romney wins, he probably can replace two, and there probably will be two liberal justices. So I think that Romney wins, you get a change in the court, and that change would be one that you would like, or that I would like, that Todd would like. If Obama wins again, the court stays the same, potentially swings the other way, depending on who retires.
Well, there's still some older justices that are conservative as well.
But Clarence Thomas, how many more years does he have? Scalia, what's his health like ultimately? And that's what scares me. Is if Obama is reelected and has another 4 years, that does trouble me as to what he could do, because that could, yes, set in motion for a couple of decades to come. You're 100% right.
All right, very good question. We appreciate that. I want to talk a little bit about Republicans versus conservatives versus Tea Party. I'm a conservative guy. Conservative is a way of life. I'm not a Republican. It's a party. I'm not a guy who goes to the RNC. I'm not a guy who genuflects to anybody with an R or a D under their name. I'm a guy who has certain values. You know what my values are. You listen to my program. Todd's values are very simple, or very similar, I should say. Simply
Very simple.
He's a very simple man.
Very
is
simple.
what I'm saying. At the end of the day, we've got feelings inside. Either we're liberal or conservative, and then we hang our hats on certain different topics: abortion, capital punishment, large or small government, taxation, the whole deal. When it comes though to eating our own, and I'll bring up this one race that you guys have heard me talk about here. We've got Lamar Smith as the House Judiciary Committee chairman. He's a Republican from District 21. Not everybody thinks he's as conservative as they would like. Many people think that he's not conservative at all. He's a rhino. He's a Republican in name only. But there's a challenge from a guy who's being backed by the Tea Party, who you heard me interview, and his name is Richard Mack. He's a former sheriff from Arizona. And Richard Mack sounds like a really nice guy, and he sounds like a very good conservative. But I can't, for the life of me, figure out why we're putting all of our energy and our money and the Tea Party movement behind a guy that if he wins, and he's got no chance, but if he wins, we get an R for an R. We don't gain one seat in Washington. We don't do anything to change anything in Washington. In essence, we lose the House Judiciary Committee chairman. So, Todd, my question to you is, and as you take the calls nationally and as you watch very closely the national races, do you see a lot of this where people are trying to swap an R for an R to feel better about themselves as conservatives, whereas we're not winning the numbers game?
Well, you have to win the numbers game. We need to add not only House seats in this country, we need to take back the Senate.
Definitely.
Which should be job number one. You know, we were talking off mic about some of the big national races and what has happened with just bad decisions. And, you know, we were talking about the Delaware race. Remember Christine McDonald? I mean, just a
that
nut.
was a bit of a problem.
And
yeah.
that was a major problem. You got to look geographically.
Listen, she's not a witch, Todd. Back off.
Yeah,
She's not a witch.
You have to look geographically. You're not going to get the same Republican or conservative in New England as you're going to get in the South. You have different candidates, different players, and the geography varies in this country.
A race that you brought up, which is the most important race, I think, in the last election, and go ahead and illustrate this point through Nevada.
So
Nevada, we really screwed up.
No, Nevada was a big time, but let's get to there through Delaware first. In the fact that Christine O'Donnell was the Tea Party darling, when in fact they should have backed the so-called rhino,
the
moderate Republican in Delaware, because that would have been an embarrassment.
Because what did we get at the end? We got a Democrat who was nowhere near as conservative as the guy that we said no to.
It also would have put a Republican, an R, in Joe Biden's old seat. Right. Then let's go from Delaware over to Nevada, and here we had three candidates that were running in the primary. And you had Sharon Angle, you had Tarkanian, and what was the woman's name?
I can't think of her name.
Yeah, it starts with an L.
Yeah.
And the polling showed that both of the other candidates would have taken out Harry Reid. There were all kinds of problems with Angle. Angle had historically a lot of gaffes. She had a lot of things that make you go, and she was unelectable. Instead, the Tea Party support went to Sharon Angle, and it put Harry flippin' Reid back in the Senate, back in the Senate leadership.
He could have
been gone.
You could have taken out the head of the snake there. Even if you didn't get the majority back in the Senate, you at least got Harry Reid out of the way, and maybe somebody who was more willing to work with the Republicans, something you don't get from Harry Reid. And that's when I talk about this on my show, people get very confused. Why won't he back the most conservative candidate? Well, I'm not backing any of these people that I interview, but when I have somebody on who wants to challenge an established Republican who already has a seat representing us, I don't get the waste of time, energy, and money, because you're not going to change anything if you switch an R for an R. No, you're not going to get one more vote. Already, Lamar Smith is generally voting that way. Or you've got a race here. Charles Gonzalez is giving up his seat or handing it to Joaquin Castro. Why? Put some energy behind a Republican that can actually take that seat. We haven't done that. It's confusing to me.
Because there's such a thing as a stupid ideological play, and we see it all the time. You know, the Buckley rule. Who knows the Buckley rule?
The William F. Buckley rule?
The William F. Buckley. I know Joe knows it. Who knows the William F. Buckley rule? The William F. Buckley rule is simple. The most conservative candidate that can Win is what the Buckley
We've been
rule
saying
is.
that over and over and over again, and I hope that people will think about that when they go to the polls next Tuesday. We've got, and by the way, you've got these national radio hosts backing one candidate over the other. You've got Sarah Palin saying do this over that thing over there. At the end of the day, when you go Tuesday, what Todd said, you vote for the person who has the best chance to win, who is most like you in your thought process. And again, I told you guys earlier, everybody in here tends to be more conservative than liberal, so vote for the person who's most conservative that can actually win the race. It's just absolute common sense.
You hold a powerful thing in your hands, the power of the vote. It's one of the most incredible rights that we have in this country. And it is incumbent upon you to study these races, to study the candidates and find the candidate that you're most comfortable with that has a shot of winning. Right. Don't toss your vote away.
It's the Joe Pag Show. Todd Schnitt is the special guest. We're going to take a quick break here. If you've got a question, get yourself ready. This gentleman asked me about the military during the break. I'd like to get to the military here in Military City, USA, certainly. And any of the questions that you have on a Town Hall Tuesday on News Radio 1200 WOAI and 92.5 The Patriot.